Thank you, everybody, for having me on today's call. And again, thank you, Ron and Tasha, for setting this up. So REC Group is one of the oldest and most experienced solar manufacturers in the world. We've had the opportunity of being in business since 1996, which is pretty exciting as that literally gives us decades of experience and still a new and emerging technology. Now, in terms of today's presentation, I'm going to provide some exciting updates regarding where the market is going and how we continue to see the US become the overall per capita electricity consumption across both commercial, utility, and residential markets increase. I'm going to provide an update on technology and specifically focus on our premium alpha pure modules and our HJT technology. And I'll share more information about how our collective customers and some of you who are potential customers win with a premium module. Most importantly, when we look at where the industry is going and have the opportunity to be in the industry for going on a little over almost 2 decades, we're still getting started. So this is still truly the ground floor of an energy revolution. And I think this is a great place to start. As we look at solar in terms of its generating capacity to the US grid, going back to 2010, it made up just 4% of added capacity to the grid. If we look at last year, 54% of all energy added to the US grid was solar, meaning this is effectively displacing new power plants that are burning coal from being built. We've literally been able to help take offline new coal power plants. Natural gas is next. We've seen a lot of peaker plants specifically come online in the last 20 years. Those continue to phase out. And this is really exciting for us as we continue to promote sustainable fuels for the future, right? And so we continue to see the fossil fuel new power generation diminish. And a lot of it is simply just a function of the economics, right? So as technology improves, as conventional fuel costs go up, the return on investment for going solar continues to improve. And we're proud to be a leader in that space. A couple key things to call out. This is a great statistic from a residential standpoint that I think is very relevant to the commercial space as well. 1 out of every 600 US homeowners is now installing solar each quarter. So when we think about the level of consumer knowledge and acceptance of solar technology, right? In markets like California, you literally cannot drive through a residential neighborhood without seeing a solar electric system on somebody's roof. In some markets, especially now that solar is required for all new homes in California, literally entire home communities are populated with solar on every roof. Another component to California standards are new commercial buildings will have to be installed with not just solar, but also batteries and to have that. And so as we continue to see the advancement of solar technology, of battery technology, California is a great indicator of where the rest of the market is going. When we think about what does that mean for us, again, as some of you on the call who are in charge of sustainability programs, the level of overall acceptance, this is no longer a nice to have. This is no longer we're doing it because we want to be green. Simply, people are going solar because the economics make sense, because it is very difficult to point to rising fossil fuel costs versus the ability to lock in the fixed cost of solar electricity and say that, paying more money for polluting fuels is a better course of action. Again, when we think about where the industry is going and what we find to be one of the most exciting things is we're truly just getting started. This slide shows how we will continue to see a really strong increase in electrical consumption, largely driven by the electrification of the transportation sector. When we think about residential consumers switching to EVs, again, there's economic reasons, there's environmental reasons, but they are literally, the residential consumer, it does not capture all of the miles driven, right? The commercial, the fleets that are out there on the road, that are operated by commercial entities are responsible for a ton of miles driven, for a ton of gasoline consumed. And on the inverse, there's a huge opportunity to offset that gasoline with an EV, with a lower cost form of energy. And most importantly, really drive a big increase in how companies today are using electricity. This next slide shows the forecast for electric vehicle sales. Here we are down in 2021, right? 2022, literally hundreds of thousands of EVs will be sold into the US market over the next couple of years. This number will only increase. And as we continue to see commercial entities switch over to leveraging EVs either within their own commercial campuses or if they're out on the roads, we are seeing more and more vehicles do this. The natural step for a company, once they have a fleet of electric vehicles, is to obviously charge them on site, because that's going to reduce the time needed. We're not spending money having our fleet go to gas stations, right? They're charging on site overnight. But also what it's going to do is it's going to increase their electrical demand. So this is a perfect complement to then going solar, because again, they can switch to EVs, they can charge their vehicles on their premises, and they can install solar to offset that new demand. This is one of the single best return on investment opportunities within the commercial landscape today, is offsetting gasoline as a form of energy and flipping it to kilowatt hours, and then leveraging solar to create that energy. Ron, any questions on this so far, or any questions from the group?
I'm going to monitor this. I don't see anything now except people say it's a great event. So I will keep monitoring this and I'll let you know. And I'm especially interested in seeing how all this tremendous demand for EV ties in with solar energy, which I'm assuming is the next portion of your talk.
Absolutely. And so again, the key things is that for everybody on the call who is actively pursuing bringing electric vehicles into their corporate fleet, this is a very natural partnership by marrying the solar generation capacity that can be done on site, right, with your new increased electric vehicle demand. Again, it's not just going green for the sake of the environment. This absolutely is one of the best return on investments that's available in the market today. And as we continue to see fossil fuel prices go up, the opportunity only grows. We can also, again, take into account the fact that this, in addition to just saving money today, it really provides companies a much greater level of control over where their budgets are going to be. Because by going solar, you can make an investment, you can finance it, you can effectively lock in your cost of solar energy. By purchasing an electric vehicle, you're now not tied to rising fossil fuel prices. And what that allows you to do is to, again, take what is currently a dynamic cost on your budget that continues to go up, that you do not control, and replace it with a static cost that you can control, that you can plan around, and that you can very easily model out the financial savings for today, tomorrow. And then again, as the cost of fossil fuels go up, those savings only increase. So within the solar industry, we see this as just being another great catalyst to drive demand for solar as well as other renewables. But specifically, solar is the easiest renewable technology for business owners to implement on their own locations. Again, I'm a huge proponent of wind power as well. We've continued to see wind power grow across the United States. It's not necessarily feasible for business owners to install their own wind turbines, right? Solar is something that is truly shovel ready, and it's something that, again, is a very near-term improvement anybody can make to their business. Next, let's talk about, give you a little bit of an update in terms of policies. So right now, we have several incentives in place that are continuing to help improve the cost of going solar. There's an investment tax credit that's available for both a commercial as well as a residential tax credit. That has been a great catalyst to help drive solar technology being installed across businesses and homes in the US. We continue to see a lot of great dialogue happening at the federal level to expand that investment tax credit. Solar is definitely very favorable within the current administration, and we're excited to see how that investment tax credit, the ITC extension, will continue to drive better commercial solar installs. This graph reflects what that additional bump will be if we see the investment tax credit extended. Next, we were sorry to see the Build Back Better not be passed, as it concluded a ton of really nice incentives for domestic-based manufacturing. That said, there's a very clear level of bipartisan support for those components of the old bill, and we expect that some version of this will get passed. Job creation is bipartisan. We, REC Group, are actively pursuing a new factory in the US. All of our modules today are made in Singapore, and I'll talk a little bit more about our manufacturing process. But we are actively pursuing this. We're targeting a first quarter of 2023 for that new factory to be producing modules, and US-based solar manufacturing incentives make it that much easier to do that. To give you all perspective, the vast majority of solar manufacturers, international solar manufacturers, have either set up US-based production or are in the process of doing so right now. And again, this is largely a reflection of the favorable market that's been created and the additional incentives that we expect to roll out. So nothing better than being able to obviously offset your fossil fuel demand with domestically produced solar power. And again, this is where the US will continue to go as a new source of energy. All right. Next, what I'd like to do is to provide a quick update on technology as a whole, both what the industry is currently doing, as well as where we, REC, a leader in the premium space, have continued to do as we stay ahead of the curve of the industry. So this is an interesting graph and the slide. The purpose of this is to really identify and help illustrate the different types of solar technology today and what we can expect over the next 5 years. So the key things to pay attention to. This is a reflection of cell efficiency. So this 21% number today, our premium modules are producing a little over 21% cell efficiency, and we will continue to bump that up. What that means is 21% of all of the available energy hitting that surface area is being converted to electricity. Using NASA and extraterrestrial applications as an example, because they have the best solar technology, they're able to currently, driving upwards of that 25-30% target. That is a very cost ineffective module to produce. It's not something that we can expect to be available for, everyday installations, but it's a great indication of where the market is going. Our technology platform is built on HJT. We'll go into that in more detail in the next couple of slides. The key thing to be aware of is over the next couple of years, you will see solar manufacturing take another evolution in the type of technology being produced every day. Today, the majority of modules being made are the technology is called a mono-PERC cell. That mono-PERC cell has really reached a lot of its effective upside. And so we'll continue to see companies now transition to where we are today, which is the HJT platform. And again, as we think about where this industry needs to be to see additional growth, it's a function of cost efficiency and power efficiency. With our platform, we're able to do both. This is a quick timeline of who we are. I'll gloss over this because all of this information is available on our website. And most importantly, if anybody was interested in learning more about REC, we'd love to add that level of support. Please don't hesitate to reach out, and my contact information will be available. So backstory on us, we were founded in Norway in 1996. The European solar market really started to mature prior to the US market, and we've seen a ton of strong growth in that market. We moved to the US in the 2010 timeframe, and we continue to lead the industry and leveraging some of the best technology out there. So we have one of the most automated facilities in the world in Singapore. We manufacture an HJT cell, and we'll go into that in more detail. And in 2023, we're excited to see our production start on our US factory. This is a picture of our current facility in Singapore. You'll notice a lot of solar panels on the roofs. That's great, right? Being a solar manufacturer, it's a no-brainer for us to power our facilities with solar energy. That also lends to us having the lowest carbon footprint of any commercially available solar panel made today. We really pride ourselves on environmental stewardship as a manufacturer. And given our Norwegian roots, this has been part of our DNA from the beginning. And again, it's going solar doesn't fix all the problems, but by doing so with renewable energy, sustainably powered factories making solar panels, we're truly getting closer to an end solution. This is a quick slide that helps explain what makes our product different. So I'm as big of a solar geek as you can get. A hybrid bifacial half-cut heterojunction cell makes perfect sense to me. But for a lot of us out there that aren't familiar with this type of technology, again, what we've done is we have incrementally improved the way that solar panels are made. So it starts with the fact that our HJT platform is actually using two different types of solar technology. This is a side profile of what our solar cell looks like. We have an N-type mono wafer, so that's the most efficient type of crystalline cell available. And then we sandwich a different type of solar technology above and below it, an amorphous silicon cell. And that is now what we've been able to do is with this hybrid cell, we have two different types of solar technology, each capturing a different part of the available light spectrum. For anybody who's familiar with First Solar, First Solar specifically produces an amorphous silicon type of technology. The rest of the industry is on either a mono N-type wafer, which is the more efficient, or the mono P-type, which has been the more cost efficient and lower efficiency. So we are combining two types of solar technology to create, again, more efficiency in the same square footage. One of the other things that we've been able to do that we're really proud about is continue to lead in the environmental stewardship as part of our manufacturing process. And so because of that, we have both the lowest carbon footprint with any module produced based on our in-house processes, as well as we have a lead-free module. This is important. Lead is not something that is safe for the environment. As a manufacturer, it's something that we spend a lot of time and money removing from our processes. And it also really lends well to our modules being able to be recycled for the future. So we have no materials in our modules that are toxic now, and that allows for, again, a much easier level of recycling 20, 30 years down the road. It's that level of forward thinking and environmental stewardship that we're pleased to bring to the market. One last thing to call out is that not only does it mean that our panels are better for the planet, but they also produce more energy. And so a heterojunction cell is able to produce more power when the sun is at its hottest point because we have what's called a low temperature coefficient. Again, I'd be happy to go into this level of detail at another time. I'll leave it at our panels are designed to produce as much energy as possible, specifically by its construction. And as a result, when you install 1 kilowatt or 1 megawatt of REC alpha modules versus a conventional mono PERC cell, we're going to outperform them close to 6% at that hottest part of the day. That's all a function of our cell design, of our industry leading temperature coefficient, and it really creates the best savings for our customers. All right, so as we talk about why efficiency matters, especially as we continue to look at the environment that solar electricity operates in is both a physical environment, right, from the standpoint of installations and We need to make sure that essentially our blue rectangles can be correctly installed and work with roof systems and wind loading and snow loading and things like that. But it's also very relevant from an economic perspective. And so when we think about the way the utilities charge for power, and they charge differently across different types of customers as well as different parts of the country, a lot of utilities have moved to a time of use rate schedule. And if they haven't, they likely will be in the future. So what utilities are saying is that they want to charge customers based on the cost needed to provide that power, as the cost from a utility perspective varies across the day, right? A utility producing energy at 3 in the morning when there's very little demand is lower cost than having to produce it at peak demand, because it requires a greater level of capacity of generation capacity. And so with having a more efficient system, by being able to fit more panels on the roof, we can maximize those roof areas that will create the best power based on when you need it most. Here in California, operating off time of use rate schedules, that means that a system that can maximize that west facing roof space and produce as much energy as possible towards the end of the day when the cost of power is the highest is going to drive the greatest return on investment for our customers. That's a perfect example of where truly one module versus another, ours is going to create a better return. Another place to look is on the installation processes. And so when we think about where a lot of solar has been installed for commercial entities, carports have been a great candidate. It allows the building owner to create shaded parking, which is really relevant in markets, in high temperature markets, right? I mean, literally, you go to an office park in Arizona and people will fight over the parking spaces below the carport because otherwise their car is 130 degrees when they come out from work. So it creates benefits there. But there's the cost of building carports has actually gone up a lot in the last 12 months, right? The cost of steel has gone through the roof. And so as you're looking at building these large fixed cost structures, the ability to install more solar on top allows you to amortize more generating capacity over those structures and drive a better return on investment. So while REC Group doesn't make batteries, I want to make sure that I call out, and it's fantastic that you have Corbin on, as he is truly an expert in this field. We will continue to see a much higher attachment rate of batteries to grid tie solar systems across both the residential and commercial space. These technologies can really complement each other well, especially as we look at the way utilities are charging for power. For example, your solar system could be power in the morning, let's say when it's a lower cost time, it is charging up your batteries. And then when that peak rate hits, you're both producing power from your system that you're using and you're pushing back to the grid. And if the building needs energy, it's using the battery. So you're not consuming at that high peak rate. And instead, you're able to help arbitrage the utility rates. You're able to maximize the amount of power you're selling back to the grid at that peak rate. And you're leveraging the battery to be a buffer and to drive just overall better savings. So again, California is a great indicator of where the market is going. We absolutely expect there to continue to be a higher level of connectivity between grid tie solar as well as batteries. And then with electric vehicles, this continues to just play well into that, where again, the EVs can be charging in the middle of the night on the off-peak rates, and really continue to just drive the most cost-effective solution for both businesses and residential consumers in going solar. The last thing that I want to leave you with is, so REC Group, we have, again, with over 25 years in the solar manufacturing space, we're thrilled to be solar experts. We have recently been acquired by a company called Reliant Industries. Reliance is one of the largest energy companies in the world, and they have made a very concerted effort to pivot to renewables. So as part of us joining the family at Reliance Industries, they have also acquired multiple companies within the renewable space, looking at hydrolysis, looking at battery technology, I saw a question come in regarding hydrogen. Hydrogen, the ability to create hydrogen through hydrolysis powered with sustainable energy is one of the cleanest ways to now leverage renewable energy to create a really viable fuel for the transportation sector. So you'll continue to see more, and we definitely expect hydrogen to be a key component to really a greener future. And we're thrilled to have that in our overall family.